Welcome back to Workplace and Apprenticeship 30. We're on 2.1, which is titled Accuracy and Precision. So start by reading Math on the Job on page 78 and answer the following questions. All right, check your answers with what's on the board, and then we're going to move on to the Explore the Math, which is on page 78. So please read Explore the Math on page 78 and copy out the following definitions. Now, please note this is a typo. This should be the uncertainty formula, not the measured value formula. All right, go ahead. You can now pause your video to make sure that all of your definitions are correct. We'll move on then to example 1. So state the precision and the uncertainty of each measurement. So a baker sets an oven timer that displays 1-minute increments to 45 minutes. So what is the smallest unit that is displayed on this form of measurement? 1 minute. Good, so that is our smallest display. So that would be our precision. 1 minute. Okay, or minute intervals. Now, the uncertainty is half of that. So what would be the uncertainty? 30 seconds or half a minute. Good. So it would be 1/2 times 1 minute or 0.5 minutes. You could also say 30 seconds. It's nice to sometimes keep these though in the same units just so you're not always converting back and forth. So B, a nurse measures a patient's temperature to be 36.8 degrees Celsius. What would be your smallest unit of measurement on this thermometer? 1 degree Celsius? No, because there is something smaller. Okay, you'll notice that there's actually a decimal place. So since there's a decimal place, we really just want to count the number of decimal places, and that would be our smallest unit. So here, this has a tens place in the decimals, or a tenths place, sorry. So that would be your smallest unit. So our precision would equal 0.1 degrees Celsius, because there's one decimal place. Now our uncertainty is going to equal our 0.1 degrees Celsius times by 1/2. So what is our uncertainty? Yep. No. What if you ever need to, just divide in your calculator, 0.05. 0.05, and that is degrees Celsius. Now, it could be higher or it could be lower by that amount. So we always want to put a plus minus in front of there also. Okay, go ahead and you try the next two on your own. All right, check your answer for C. Now D does have a bit of a trick to it because the number 1200 is kind of vague. It could have been rounded. If you have the number 1199, you could have rounded it off after the ones digit and it would have rounded to 1200, or you could have rounded it after the hundreds digit, sorry, the tens digit, and it would have rounded off to 1200, or the hundreds digit to round it off to 1200. So you could have done your uncertainty or precision with either one of these. So your precision could have been 100 meters with your uncertainty being plus or minus 50 meters. Or you could have used 10 or 1 and either one would have worked. So then let's look to discuss the ideas, page 81. Here, George has 3 different tape measures. Each one has different accuracy because each one has the smallest unit on them. So the bottom one here, tape measure 3, is millimeters. The next one has half centimeters, and tape measure 1 has full centimeters. And he has this piece. It was kind of hard to tell, but the piece is actually this little thing behind each of the tape measures. That's the piece that he's trying to measure. So he says that the piece is 12 centimeters long using tape measure 1. Now we can all see that it's a little bit bigger than 12 centimeters, but we can't make a more precise length with tape measure 1. So that's all he has to go with. So he says that it must be between 11.5 and 12.5 since he knows it's around that 12 mark. Because if it was 11.5 or if it was in here, it'd be rounded up, and over here it would be rounded down. So it's somewhere in there. So he wrote it as 12 centimeters plus minus 0.5 centimeters. Now we're going to do the same thing using tape measure 2. So what would you estimate the piece to be at tape measure 2? Okay, you can only use the smallest measurements that are on the tape measure. So it would be about 12 and a half because it's closer to the half here than it is to the 12. So we could say that it's about 12.5 centimeters. But now what is our uncertainty? No, plus or minus 0.25 centimeters, because 0.25 is half of the smallest unit on this ruler. So the smallest unit is 0.5, so half of that is 0.25. So that would be your statement for that one. Okay, try tape measure number 3. Again, it's a little hard to see, but I think on your sheet it's quite clear. Should be close to about 12.3. So about 12.3 centimeters. Now help me out, I'm not finishing this one. What would be your uncertainty then? No, because these are full millimeters now that we're measuring in. So your smallest measurement here is 1 millimeter. So what is your uncertainty? 0.5 millimeters, right? So you could go plus minus 0.5 millimeters, but it is nice to keep them all in the same units. So can I convert the 0.5 millimeters to centimeters? Good, 0.05 centimeters. Because there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. Now, which one of these is the most precise? Tape measure 1, 2, or 3? Tape measure 3, why? Because it has the smallest measurements units on it. So number 3, because it has the smallest measurement unit. Write that down, please. And that would be millimeters as its smallest unit. So then, if we look to question 2, is it important that the joint between the crown molding and cabinets is not visible? So George now is installing this crown molding, and he doesn't know which ruler to use. So for crown molding, does that take a lot of precision? Yes. Yeah, crown molding is like the stuff around the bottom of your wall or around the top of your wall. So yes, it does take a lot of precision. So which ruler would you recommend him using? Number 3. Good. Why? Good, because it is the most precise and molding takes precision. So it is the most precise and molding takes precision. Okay, how about if you're doing fence posts? Which ruler would you use? The bigger one. Why? Because it doesn't really matter as much with fence posts, it's more just visual appeal. Okay, you want them about the same length, but if a fence post was a centimeter off, you would never notice. Okay, so because fence posts don't need to be as precise. All right, good work. Now you do have an assignment to work on, page 88 and 89, numbers 1 to 4. Do these for homework, please. And this lesson today is brought to you by
Brianna. Yeah.